The Boulder City Sports Network is sponsored by Superior Builders, Inc. of Nevada, building spec residential and commercial with our investment partners for nearly 20 years. Contact Aaron at sbinevada.com for more information. And the I&I Music and Podcast Studio. If you're interested in using the studio, you can contact Dawn at iandimusic.studio. And EV Park, revenue-generating charging stations for apartments, hotels, offices, and short-term rentals. Contact sales at evpark.com to find out how your property can generate a new income stream.
Eagle Nation, you're watching the Boulder City Sports Network Coaches Show, live on YouTube with fans tuning in right here from Boulder City and across the country. Tonight we'll break down last night's win over Needles, we'll preview the upcoming battle with Eldorado, and we'll sit down with a very special guest, Coach Bubba's father. Let's get into it. Welcome back, Coach.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. All right, so let's talk Needles. I watched it on TV. It was broadcast, so we won the game. Great
Yes.
win, 24-6. I mean, it just seemed like we were the better team on the field. Feel the same way?
Yeah, it was, like we kind of said last week, there was, like, our whole thing this year is, kind of going out and playing as best as we can and doing our job and stuff like that. And this was a team that if we made mistakes, they were going to capitalize on it. I think that's a lot of what we're going to see again this week. But yeah, we played a good football game. It was fun to be a part of. It was close for most of the game, which always makes it a little bit more interesting and fun. But no, it was a great game. Great Friday night.
Yeah, so we won 24-6, snapping a 4-game road losing streak, bringing our record up to 2-2. Also put Needles' record at 2-2. Looked like we controlled the tempo early, keeping Needles out of rhythm. Our defense played great, keeping them to 6 points and only 1 touchdown. Offensively, we were passing the ball well, which also opened up the ground game, and special teams did well. You want to comment on any of that?
Yeah, no, it was a fun game. Going into it, we kind of knew we felt our defense was better than their offense, and that their defense was comparable to our offense. So we knew we were going to stop them. We just had to score points, and it was fun because this is that first game where I enjoyed watching our defense on the field. Like, I kind of became a fan of just like, oh my God, look at them go,
Yeah.
And they were in the backfield all game. They understood, and it was fun we've got a group of guys that are starting to watch film and pay attention to like the little details during the week, that almost every play that they ran, we've got guys calling out what they're doing. We also found a little tell on film of whether they were running or passing. So that kind of gave us a little bit of an advantage, but we played like men, and like it's fun to see. Like, there was real hitting, real tackling. We had to have 6 or 7 sacks. I don't remember what the number is, but everybody, our front 4, all of them had a sack. I know Cam had one. I don't know if Otis had one at linebacker, but some of those guys might have had multiple sacks, and it was just guys flying around, and it was great.
Yeah.
And then we've got our kickoff return has been awesome for us this year. We kind of joke as coaches. We say that Luke Jappy is the best return man I've ever been around.
Yeah.
And he's got 2 returns. He's had a couple that he almost broke, kind of got shoestring tackle, and then just good yardage on his returns. But we laugh all the time in practice because, like, he can't catch the ball in practice. Like, balls are bouncing off of him. Like, we got to run it again until you catch one, and like he's dropping them all over the place. And then we put in a new return this week, and first one we blocked it like unbelievably well. And Luke's just got that ability when the ball's in his hands to just do something fun. So It was great.
What were the keys on defense? What do you feel like were some of what was the game plan or strategy defensively?
It was just to get pressure on them. If we could be in their backfield, because they did a lot of like misdirection stuff, that if you're kind of being blocked and you're seeing the ball go this way and then come back, you're kind of out of position. But if we're just in the backfield behind their offensive line, they can't do all the misdirection because they've got nowhere to go.
Yeah.
And our defensive line lived in their backfield, which was awesome.
Yeah. So great defensively game. To special teams for a minute before offense. What I noticed was some big punts.
Yes.
That really
Yes.
were field position type punts. I
Yes.
mean, from our 20 down to their 40 or something.
Gavin Cartier last year, he was all conference for punting. And, when I told him, he was like, "Oh, great," because he's a wide receiver and a defensive player, and he was like, "That's what I got recognized for." And we told him, we're like, "You're a lot better than you think you are. Like, you are a weapon. It's not just, oh, we got to punt. The expectation when he punts is we're going to turn the field over. It's almost hard to punt inside our 50 because he's got such a good leg that he's just going to kick it into the end zone. And it's something that this year he started to work at a little bit more. Coach Armstrong, who does all the special teams, it's the one thing I love about Armstrong is he was never a punter, but he's doing special teams. So now he'll watch YouTube videos on like punting, and then he'll go out there and kind of talk through with Gavin. And it's a lot of Armstrong kind of yelling at him, and Gavin like, I don't know what I'm talking. You know what I mean? And like, but he'll pick up little things, and each week he's kicking the ball better and better. And it's a weapon. It's when we choose to punt, we know that we're going to put our defense and honestly the team in a good position. The other thing that happened for us this week is they dropped a punt, which he gets such height on his punt, and the good spin, spiral spin, like those balls are hard to catch, that we pin them deep and then their guy drops it and we get a fumble recovery. It's huge for us.
Yeah. And it's more than just the kick, though. It's the blocking, it's the tackling, It's getting down there and stopping them once they do get the ball.
Yeah, we've got a lot of guys, and the one thing that like I think this position definitely gets like kind of overlooked. We're getting great snaps. So James Peel is our long snapper on the punts, and we've had nothing but perfect snaps every time we've punted this year. And the key to it too is he's a fast kid that can get downfield and disrupt the return guy. And like we talked because he missed a tackle, but he slowed the guys down. And I told him, I go, you watch NFL games and stuff, those long snappers, they get the free release down there. Those guys never make the tackle, but they slow the guy down and make him pick a side and where he's going. And James is doing a great job with that. And that helps Gavin look like a better punter. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like all that stuff working together is huge for us.
That's great. Okay, on the offense, we scored a lot of points, or we had a good game offensively. I want to go back to kind of the first touchdown that we scored. Can you walk me through that? It seemed like an important one. I think there was a lot of time there where we weren't scoring. It might have been late in the second we scored that first touchdown. Yeah. I don't remember, but it was. So we were down on the goal line. It was like we just wanted to get on the board first.
Yeah, it was something like
fourth down, I think.
Yeah, we were like stagnant. Like we had gone 2 or 3 drives at that point and hadn't scored, but we were moving the ball. And like I said, that was kind of the going into it. We knew their defense was pretty close to our offense. That's kind of the way I felt. So we just couldn't punch it across. And right before that, the way we had lined up, we saw a guy kind of man-to-man on Noah on the right-hand side. And he was super inside shade, and we were just like, let's just run an out route to him. So we did. We completed it for like 8 yards. We went back to it right away the next play because like that I like to do that, calling plays. Like, that worked. Let's try it again. And their kid, blatantly held him. It was a bad when you see it on film, like kind of pulled him and tackled him, and it didn't work. But they running that twice, we saw that they just completely left that guy completely alone. Next play, we came back and we ran a zone, and then after that, right away, it was fourth down, and knowing that there was nobody out there, we just ran like a swing route to Nate, get out over to the side, and we hit it. Everything was perfect, and there was just nobody there to stop him. We weren't calling it to score a touchdown. I think we needed like 4 yards for the first down.
Yeah.
And I remember saying that, I'm like, just tell Nate he's just got to get the first down. And then with nobody being there, it was just a sprint to the end zone, and he got in.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it seemed like that kind of set the tone for the offense.
Yeah.
Really needed to get that first one on the board.
Right.
Both teams were trying to get on the board, and you guys got on there first.
And it's a little bit of like a confidence thing. Like we were moving the ball fine, but then once we score, there's a little bit of like swagger from our guys. And even though they went down and scored on the next drive, our kids now had the confidence of like, we can go and score. This is nothing. You know what I mean? But prior to that, we felt like we were like pushing a little bit,
Quarterback Asa had another good game.
Yeah.
What do you think of him and the running backs?
Asa threw great. It was the plan was to throw a little bit. They came out and pressed us a little bit more than we had seen on film, which I think is something we're going to get a lot. But no, good balls. The biggest thing that like kind of everybody on the coaching staff was happy with was he's really staying in there and throwing under pressure. And we're getting all these teams are blitzing more guys than we can block, and he's staying in there and throwing when he has to. He's kind of escaping when he has to, and it's good balls. I think he threw 2 passes that weren't great, and both of those were, one got batted down because the guy was just way bigger than him, and the other he got hit when he threw. I should say 3 because he also threw on he's going to be mad at me for saying this, but he's going to learn. On the 2-point conversion, we ran a fade to Gavin Cartier, and he threw it onto the track, which I don't know if you're aware, but if you catch it on the track, it doesn't count.
Yeah, that's out of bounds.
So we've just got to work a little bit on that and just getting it up there because, and we know, and we've talked about it, and it is a trickier throw, and I think a lot of times, especially for quarterbacks, it's like a adrenaline kind of thing where it just comes out way hotter than it needs to. It doesn't need. It just needs to be high and goes, but he threw it way onto the track.
Okay.
But then, and the running backs, they ran good, but we really didn't run the ball, and it's tough to run the ball when they're blitzing 2-3 guys inside. You know what I mean? There's just not enough guys to block them in the spread formation, you know? So it kind of took away a little bit of our running game. We still ran just to kind of keep them honest a little bit, but all that did was open it up for our receivers, you know?
So how important was this win? Was it a statement win type of win? Or
It's a win. Like, it got us back to 500. You know what I mean? And I think that's kind of I've told the kids that's kind of our bar. Like, I want to be, let's stay 500 or above. And Needles is you can say what you want because they're 2A, but they are a very good team. I think, in all honesty, I think we've played the best team in 3A this year and the best team in 2A.
Yeah.
I also don't think Clark is far off from being the best team in 4A. You know, so we've played 3 really, really good teams. The one thing about Needles, too, they were huge. Like, for a school that has half the amount of kids of us, I don't know what they are feeding them at lunch because they were massive.
Wow, okay.
And before we go on, like with the offense stuff too, the one guy that really needs to be like kind of shouted out with the offense was Anthony Eby. He had a phenomenal game. You know, it's not very often you get 8 catches in a high school game, and he had 8 catches for like 81 yards and 2 touchdowns. Yeah, 2 touchdowns. That he's playing great, and he's a kid that, you know, we've kind of seen good things from, but he's kind of coming into his own and running great routes and making guys miss after he catches the ball. And that was kind of like the breakout game for Anthony.
Yeah.
You know, I think and I told him this week ago, now, before guys were just kind of planning for Gavin Cartier, like, we got to watch him. Now they've got to watch for him, which now opens it up for some of our other guys to have big games and kind of step up.
Yeah, I'm looking at some season averages. I'm not sure if these are accurate or not, but it looks like Ace is averaging 120 passing yards per game. EB is averaging 40 receiving yards per game. Nate Lewis, 25 rushing yards per game. And on defense, Cam is averaging 8 tackles per game.
It sounds about right. Like, we've got to put in the stats for this week. I don't think we got the official ones in, but no, our numbers are great. But the thing that I'm really noticing this year, like, the numbers aren't phenomenal, but we're winning games and we're in games, you know, and I think that's something that as an individual player is hard to comprehend sometimes because everybody's like the running backs. I need to get 100 yards. We don't, because we've got 2, 3, sometimes 4 backs running the ball. We don't run the ball a ton. If each of you get 25, that's 100 yards. You know what I mean? That works. In terms of like the throwing, we're not throwing for 250, 300 yards a game, but we're completing it when we need it, and we're moving the ball consistently, you know, and that's been huge for us this year.
Yep. Well, it sure will be nice to come back home for a game. We've had the bye week. We've had 2 weeks on the road. So this week we are Eldorado.
Right.
Can we talk about them a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay. What are you seeing with them? I think they're 2-2 on the season.
They're very I compare them a lot to kind of a mixture between the Needles team and the Clark team. You know, they're a big team, much like Needles. You know, Clark was pretty big too, but I honestly think Needles was a little bit bigger. They've got some girth on their offense and defensive line. They've got some athletes like they had at Clark. They run a very similar offense to what Needles ran. You know, so it's a lot of stuff that we've seen and kind of are prepared for. Again, this is one of those weeks that if we do our job and we show up and play the way we can, we win. If we make mistakes, we definitely give them the opportunity to win. This is not I think we're in for a good game Friday night. I think this is the 24-6, like, I don't know that the score is that spread out this week. I think it's a little bit closer than that.
Closer,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I've looked at their quarterback, Grayson Howard. He's a sophomore. He runs the ball a lot. So I think they're kind of a run-heavy team. Is that what
They look to run a lot more than they look to throw
Mhm.
because Grayson is definitely more of a runner than a thrower.
Yep.
But they've got, and he runs the ball a little bit. They've got like 2 running backs that are pretty solid. They're big. One's a bigger kid. They're quick. I wouldn't say they're like lightning fast,
Mhm.
but that kind of plays into what I think we're good at. We're doing a good job stopping the run this year and wrapping up and tackling. So this will be a very good test for our defense
Mhm.
to see what they can do with him.
Yeah, that's Demir Owens and Adrian Jimenez, I think, are the
Yes.
2 running backs that you were talking about. What are kind of keys to the game? What
The defense has got to put us in
Yeah.
positions to score. Because, like I said, again, I think our defense is a little bit better than their offense. That's my opinion
Yep.
based on it. And I think their defense and our offense are, again, pretty comparable. They're good at some things that we struggle at, and we're good at some things that they struggle at. So we've just got to make sure that we eliminate mistakes and like pick up blocks. And if we can get the ball out, I think we can move the ball and do well.
Yeah. Anything from the Needles game going into this game that you've changed or that you're especially working on?
We're gonna start working in a few more kids at receiver. We've got some guys that can do it. We just really haven't given them the chance yet. Hopefully we can get all those guys a catch and get involved. The other thing is we're gonna work somebody a little bit new at running back. So Cohen Burrows has kind of been playing there, but really he's gotten like 1 carry this week and then like hasn't for 2 weeks. But he's a kid that he really steps up and blocks in the passing game, and that's something we need. So we're going to give him a shot. And then on defense, we're really not changing anything on the defensive side. Like everything's pretty status quo. And this is our last non-conference game before conference starts. So kind of told the kids that we're going to try a few different things and kind of see, because then starting next week against Democracy Prep, everything is like for real, like it matters.
Yeah. Okay, how's the attitude on the practice field and with the kids? Are they still
It's great.
engaged?
That's one of the things that I talked about with Mr. Steckelberg today was, this week in the game, we had one of our boys get a penalty. Sorry, I'm not throwing you under the bus, but we had a penalty. When we saw it on film, like, I don't know if penalty needed to be called for it, but it was that like little bit of extra thing. And our kind of captains and seniors really stepped up and went and talked to him right away and like kind of calmed the situation down, and talked to him about what he needs to do on the field. Like, don't worry about that other stuff. The other kids also stayed positive. It's such a nice group of kids to be around because of that. Like they really do get the team aspect of it, and there is not a single kid that is tearing anybody down. Everybody is picking everybody up, and it has been phenomenal. This week in practice, it's a little like you get that like hangover from a win where it wasn't a great week. I could tell you this, we're in pads tomorrow, so that means it wasn't wonderful.
Yeah.
But it's not a punishment. It just means we need a little bit more work, and I think what I found funny today was when I told them that there was not groans, there were kids going, yeah, that makes sense. And like in the past, it would have been kids going home and crying to mom and dad, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's just not that this year.
That seems like buy-in.
Right, 100%. I think that's what it is.
You're buying. Great. Okay, so the game is at 6 o'clock. Boulder City fans, we're at Eldorado High School. Earlier start time, so make sure you take that into account when you're traveling.
I suggest you just call in sick on Friday so you can get there and tailgate.
That's a good idea.
Be there in time.
It's a good idea. It will be a hostile environment, and we will be there. We will be there supporting you for sure. Okay, can we bring out your father? Are we okay?
We
with
can.
That? Are
Let's
we
do
ready
it.
to that? Okay.
Let's see what he can do.
Frank, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks for taking some time to do this. You're one of our staunchest supporters from afar. We know that there's always one person on YouTube watching this, at least one watching this from Chicago. So we thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
I've been really looking forward to doing this. I came up with some questions for you. I could talk to you for hours, but I just kind of narrowed it down to some things I'd love to hear from you. First off, before we kind of get into your background and stuff, what's your take on the Eagles? You're watching practices, you're watching games.
It's a whole different group this year. Like I told Bubba, his practices. Now, last year you go to practice and you didn't hear anybody hitting. This year I go to practices and there's actually, contact going on and hitting and I watched the JV game last week or 2 weeks ago. They were tackling like crazy. So I think the youth program is starting to show its, what's happening with the youth is starting to show up with the high school now, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, good. What did you think of the game last week?
Oh, it was great. I was shocked when I got there how big they were.
Really?
I didn't expect that at all.
Yeah.
And I walked out there and I'm like, oh, this is going to be trouble. And then we were talking today watching film. I go, they put number 65. I don't think he was a linebacker, but I think he was just in to destroy Asa.
Oh, really?
And he got some good shots on Asa, but Asa kept popping up, so that was a good thing. But, I mean, they were a very big team, a very physical team.
Yeah, awesome. All right, so let's talk about kind of your history a little bit. Let's start with the sports that you've played in your life. I mean, before you got into coaching, did you play sports?
Yes,
I mean,
I played football, basketball, and baseball.
Okay, just that played them all.
Yeah.
And at a young age, all through high school?
When I was in school, I was in a Catholic school, so we had CYO, it was called, and you could only play from 6th grade on. So, and most of them were 7th and 8th grade. I was one of the only guys that ever played at 6th grade. And but we had we won 3 years in a row. We won the city championship at St. Julian, and it was fun, but it was very competitive. And then some of our kids from our school and one of our big rivals, we all went to high school together, so it worked out real well in high school.
This in Chicago?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so you played all the sports. When did you start coaching?
I was 24 when I started coaching. So
What did you coach?
I coached football and baseball.
Okay.
Right off the bat.
What team?
Rolling Meadows High School.
Okay, high school.
Yeah.
And coaching career was pretty long.
Yeah, it was. I coached from when I was 24 to when I retired at 60.
Wow,
So,
that's a pretty long career.
yeah, I mean, guys don't do that anymore. You know,
Yeah.
they want to be with their families and stuff, and I understand that. But I mean, we were coaches. We were there all the time.
Yeah.
I met my dad when he was 60. He just didn't care about the family, just gone.
I mean, there'd be days when I leave and they were in bed, and I'd come home when they were in bed.
Yeah.
Especially with football.
Yeah. Do you still coach?
No.
Okay.
No.
I mean, you kind of do, but just not officially.
Right.
I mean, I see you coaching the Pee Wees a little bit.
Yeah.
Even the Eagles sometimes.
Yeah,
you're out there.
I couldn't sit there last night and not say anything,
Yeah.
so I had to say something.
That's great.
The one thing I will say that
Yeah.
has happened over the last 3 years is he's come out for stretches at a time, and he'll come out to some practices and stand there and watch. And I always think it's funny because I know what's going to happen. Now the other coaches kind of know what's going to happen too. We'd be on the 20, and he'd be in the back of the end zone, and 3 plays later, he's at the goal line, then the 10, then the 5, and then can I just real quick, and then get in and talk to somebody, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it doesn't stop. Today he came in when we were watching film, and just to kind of watch, and Coach Bradshaw is always asking him what he sees and stuff like that. He was even asking him Friday night during the game, and it's just when it's in you, it's just. If he sees something no, you got to do it this way. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it just never stops.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
easier to talk to the high school kids than my grandkids. So even my one at home, you tell them something, they don't listen. I say something, okay.
Yeah. I've been enjoyed having you at the baseball games. I mean, you're always on the sidelines, or a lot of the time, a lot of the year you're at the baseball games and in the dugout with us sometimes, and really a huge help. So did you coach Bubba?
Yes.
You were his coach.
Yeah. My dad coached me.
Okay.
I coached Bubba. Now
Wow.
Bubba's coaching his kids. So
Unbelievable.
it works out good. Yeah,
What a
my dad
tradition.
was my coach I was on the varsity for 3 years at Holy Cross.
Okay. So you coached him in everything? Football, basketball, baseball? Or
Not
football,
basketball,
baseball?
football and baseball.
I was too good at basketball. I
Yeah.
didn't really need a coach to sit on the bench like I did.
Yeah.
No one needed to
But
coach
I did
that up.
I did the Legion program in the summer,
Okay.
and that's where I was assistant baseball coach. But in Legion, I was the head coach, and I had Bubba for 5 years?
6 years.
6 years in Legion.
Okay.
So
So you coached him in baseball and football?
yes.
Yeah. Okay. How was that? How was?
We had an
Yeah.
agreement. I said, once the game's over, it's over.
Really?
We're not going to talk about it anymore. And we had a head coach who talked to him
Yeah.
enough.
Okay.
Joe is a good guy, but I just let Joe do the talking with him, and I just sat in the background.
Bubba's told me about some very competitive leagues that he over
Yeah.
the years
Oh, yeah.
down there. It
Yeah.
was pretty pretty vicious.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Even when he was in Pop Warner or Bill George.
Bill George,
We were
yeah.
in Bill George. I mean, they got to the championship. They had one team they had never beaten, and they finally beat them in the championship game. But the coaches were intense. They were good coaches and intense, but on the same level, they were in it for the kids. They weren't about winning and everything, but there were some battles. You know, it was fun to see. And then those kids they all played against each other in high school then. You know, it was like a rivalry every week in Pop Warner or Bill George, and then they played against each other in high school.
Yeah. Were there any titles that stuck out to you over that long career? Were there any championships or any big games or any moments?
I think
or-
the one for me was the Legion when we won. What did we win that? What was that called? County. We won county. We went to state, and then we won state, and then we went to the regional. We won 2 games and lost 2 games, but that was a good team. We had a real good group of kids. And
That was 1989.
yeah, 1989.
Really?
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was the bad boy.
He was there. He was in all the games.
Yeah.
I could still probably go through and give you the lineup for
Really?
all those guys. Yeah.
Yeah, but I enjoyed Legion. Was a lot of fun because it was all the schools, you could get different kids from different areas and very competitive. And we
Yeah.
traveled a lot. I wasn't the kind of guy who was just going to play 20 games. You know, we usually played about 40, 45 games and traveled to different towns on the weekends
Yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah, I love sitting in the dugout and hearing stories about those years, because I mean those summers that you told me about where you guys
Yeah.
played 75
Well, and
games.
it's one of those things like where it's fun to have people like actually sit down and talk to him, because I know some of the stuff that we talked about, what we did, people are like, okay, sure. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, I could bring up a bunch of guys who are like, no, that actually happened.
Yeah, that's good. Are there any kind of coaching philosophies that you've kept with over the years? or-
I just I was always fair with the kids. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It wasn't, and like Bubba does, my dad taught me, he goes, practice an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes, because after that, you lose everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was coaching at Palatine, I had the sophomore team. The varsity would be out there forever. We'd be walking off, and all the coaches would go, I want to coach with you next year. You guys don't stay out here forever
Yeah.
and stuff. But, I mean, you get it done, and we're done, you
Yep.
know, and you go from there.
Yep. So don't over practice.
Right.
No.
You know, then I got to coach with him, him and my other son, Joey, we got to coach all together at Palatine. So that was fun.
That's
You
cool.
know,
Yeah.
it was a good situation.
Yeah. You know, how has in my opinion, one of like the purest things in the world is youth sports. I mean, there's football, there's 11 kids and 11 kids. It doesn't matter if that was 50 years ago, 20 years ago, or this year. It's it's still 11 on 11 playing the same game with the same size ball.
Right.
How has youth sports changed over the years, in your opinion?
It's different now. When he played, it was I don't know how you say it, but it was a team that got together, you know, from all over, and we coached them and played. Now it's, okay, my kid didn't make the team, so now this dad's going to start a travel team, and this dad's going to start a travel. It's not like it used to be. I mean, I watched my grandson this year at home play. Brutal games. I mean, because the coach three coaches, their 3 kids played every game. Everybody else rotated in and around, and they're not even teaching the kids anything. Where these kids, we would have, when he played for the Travelers, we started practice in January every Sunday in a gym, and then we went through till August, you know, playing. His 12-year-old team, they played 162 games. So
Wow.
that was what the year was like.
And like you said, same kids all got to know each other and gel
They still,
and
we got
bond.
together, what, 2 years ago?
2 years ago, yeah.
2 years ago, we got together, everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was neat.
Okay. How else has sports changed over the years?
Just, I think, you know, I don't want to sound mean,
Yeah.
but the parents got too much involved.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, years ago, if I said something to my dad about a coach, he'd just say, shut up and do it. You know, don't worry about it. Now, the parents will go in and talk to the coaches, talk to the principal, you know, and it's hard to coach that way, you know, because you know you're not getting the support at home that you should be getting.
Yeah.
You know, and that's bad.
Yep. Okay, last question, and this is just kind of for me and maybe for Bubba, but I mean, for guys like us that have kids that are playing sports and we're coaching them, and do you have any advice for us? I mean,
Just be level with them, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Tell them what it's like. And, you know, too many kids now, the parents think they're way better than they are, and that hurts the kids, you know what I mean? Tell them to work harder, you know, be part of the team, know what's going on, and eventually, I mean, all these third graders, by the time they're in high school, they're all going to be football players, even though now it doesn't look like it, but they're going to be football players when they get to high school,
Yeah.
you know, and that's what they got to look, the parents and everybody has to look at the long-term thing. You know, it's not about winning it. Who cares? Nobody's going to remember you won a game at third grade.
Right.
But when you get to high school and you're playing for a state championship, that's a big deal.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah, great. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, it's just, I mean, it's great coming out here, and,
Yeah.
and the kids are great, and, you know, one of these days, me and you'll go golfing
I
again.
would love that. Yeah, I would love to do that. And I love being around you, and I appreciate all the times you've come out to the baseball games that my son was on Bubba's team, and you've helped them all. So thanks for being
Thank
on
you.
the show tonight and being here tonight, Bubba. It's a busy week, always, and so your time is valuable too. Appreciate you coming out tonight, spending this time with us.
Real
What
quick,
else you wanna add?
real
Yeah.
quick before we go anywhere, I know it's 2 days away now at this point, but
Yeah.
today I can't not say that it is Shannon's birthday. That is
Yes.
my wife. For those of you who don't know, Friday night when you see her at the game, please come up, tell her happy birthday, give her a big hug, and please try and stop and talk to her for 5 to 10 minutes. She would love it.
I'll make sure to do that. Happy birthday, Shannon, from the coaches show and from all of us here. Anything else? We
No,
good?
that's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Guys, thanks for being here. That wraps up our show. We'll be back here again next Wednesday night for another show. We might have Coach Red on. We'll see what we can do about that. But 6 o'clock, not 7 o'clock, Eldorado High School. See you there Friday. Good luck, Eagles. Thanks.
The Boulder City Sports Network is sponsored by Superior Builders, Inc. of Nevada, building spec residential and commercial with our investment partners for nearly 20 years. Contact Aaron at sbinevada.com for more information. And the I&I Music and Podcast Studio. If you're interested in using the studio, you can contact Dawn at iandimusic.studio. And EV Park, revenue-generating charging stations for apartments, hotels, offices, and short-term rentals. Contact sales at evpark.com to find out how your property can generate a new income stream.